Welcome to our panel discussion, Immersive Media and Journalism. This is already the second edition. We already did this panel last year. Lutz Knappmann from Süddeutsche Zeitung was one of the panelists last year, so we'll see what he learned in the last year. And we will have a look what all the others experienced. First, unfortunately, Lisa Weitemeyer from WDR got sick, and I thank Thomas Hallett very much that he joined us today. We wish Lisa all the best, so please send our greetings for her. Thomas Hallett is lead from the Innovation Lab at WDR, and maybe you introduce yourself in 2 or 3 sentences.
Yes, I'm part of the digital department of WDR. So you can see from that we don't just broadcast. We do more things like that. We've been involved in that Cologne Cathedral experiment, which is being displayed outside in the main lobby. Proud to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. We also welcome Eva Lopez from Deutsche Welle. She's an innovation manager and is specialized in data journalism. So, Eva, you maybe also introduce yourself.
Yep. Hello. I'm an innovation manager at Germany's international public broadcaster, Deutsche Welle. And we work on a 360 storytelling tool. It's called Fader, and Fader is for free. And Fader is easy to use, and this is very important to us because we want to lower the barriers for journalists to start creating great 360 content.
Thank you. To her left is Boris Kantzow. He's at the moment interims professor at the University of Applied Sciences RheinMain in Wiesbaden, and also a founder of a startup in Düsseldorf, but you can explain it yourself.
Thanks. That's almost all what I wanted to say.
Sorry.
Yeah, I always worked half creatively and have on a technological base. So I'm always very much interested in when there's some new technology, what can you make out of it? What content can you create? And that's why I have these 2 hats today, one of which is being the interims professor at the moment, and the other one is that I just founded that VR and AR company, Weltenmacher.
Thank you. Yeah, Lutz, thank you for joining again. I think you were impressed by the last panel last year, so you joined us again.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm happy you followed, and please also tell us something about it.
Yeah, hello. My name is Lutz. I'm head of editorial innovation at Süddeutsche Zeitung in Munich. And basically, I'm trying to do 2 things. On the one hand, I'm trying to find new products and business models based on content we already have. So to answer the questions, what can we do with our content apart from printing it in a newspaper or putting it on a website? And on the other hand, reaching out and embracing new technologies and trying to learn what they can contribute to our journalism. And in that field, we started to work with VR about a year ago.
Okay, thank you. And last but not least, thank you very much for joining Konstantin Flemig. He's working for ZDF Digital and just came back from a journey to Mosul in Iraq. And yeah, maybe you also want to say some words.
Thank you very much. I'm working for ZDF Digital, which isn't to be confused with the big TV station ZDF. We're kind of a daughter company, and we're there to do all the new media stuff. I'm a social media journalist. I do a lot of journalism for Facebook and Twitter. But I also have a background in filmmaking, especially in crisis reporting and war journalism. So I think these are 2 points that for which virtual reality will be very important in the next few years and decades, combining virtual reality with social media, but also reporting about the zones of war that we have seen in the last few years, so to give the people an impression about that. Thanks for having me.
We're looking forward to hear more. Thank you. So let's jump right into the discussion. And as we are in Cologne, I decided to start with the Dome app 360, which just won a Grimme Online Award last week. And congratulations. You were producing this application together with Reflect from Munich, which we heard a lot about already, where you were using the 360 platform. And Thomas, could you tell us a bit more about the idea, how this app was developed, how the idea was born to develop an application about the Kölner Dom, and what were your key learnings from it?
Yes. We wanted to achieve that award, and so we did. We did just this. No, just kidding. We've been realizing that VR and 360 video would become, or had become, a very relevant technology, and we wanted to do the experiment and play around with it. And in the end, it was not just playing around; it was a lot of effort and a lot of fail, and but a lot of success in the end. Key learnings. Number one, I would say immersion is a very powerful tool to get people involved. That's nothing new, but you have to prove it and to do the things very good and very on a superior level. We've been trying to do that. Number two is that kind of simulation that you could have seen in the 2D simulation. This simulation based on CGI content. People love to travel back into history. That's a very very good experience for them and for us as well. They like this sort of being stimulated by a very contrasting environment. Number three is the interaction. This is special in our application. People love to get around in that photogrammetry application we have been displaying out there. You can see people walk around and they love to play and look behind the corner and explore things. The interactive experience is very crucial for our Cathedral app. You want to do want to hear about the learnings, the failings? Okay. Number one, if you take a look at the content in our application, you may find out that the resolution is a topic. We have content based on photography, we have content based on CGI, and we have content based on video. And the video resolution is sort of critical, and the CGI and the photographic content is sort of sufficient and very okay. So we have sort of divergent content quality. That's definitely a learning. Number two is sound and music. Sound is a very powerful tool for getting immersed, and we didn't pay attention to that in the early stages of the production. We learned and learned about that, and now we are about to upgrade the sound, the spatial sound, to the state of the art, which is ambisonics to our understanding. Number three, the timeline. It has been an experiment, and we had to realize that experiments sometimes take more time than we would have loved to, and we had to postpone the deadline. But in the end, everything went fine. Okay, thank you.
Lutz, regarding all the experiences you made already with VR and in 360 experiences, from my perspective, Süddeutsche Zeitung is very advanced already, comparing to other media in Germany. And we would be interested to hear which experience you already developed and what was the impact for Süddeutsche Zeitung.
The point is, maybe we are really advanced right now, but you must not lean back now, because VR is getting traction in the whole of the media scene, so there will be many, many other great experiences in the future. When I was here in Cologne last year, we literally just started with SZVR, and we had just published 6 stories from Rio de Janeiro in the time before the Olympic Games started, telling the story about people living in the favelas over there. And as of right now, we have published 6 big stories and some little experiments using Facebook or YouTube. And the one key learning, I can tell a little bit more about the content in a second, but one key learning for us is that our users use these VR stories because of the story, not because of technology. So it's not VR for its own sake, but the task we have is to tell good stories, and if we tell good stories that suit a VR environment, then they will be fine and will be watched a lot. There is one example, basically the last story we published a few weeks ago about the plans to build a second tunnel for the public transport in Munich, which is one of the biggest infrastructure projects in Germany right now. And we try to experiment there not only with 360 video, but also combining that with CGI and architecture renderings, which was some sort of a challenge for us. And in the end, one of those stories was the most clicked and most viewed story we had, because it addresses a topic that everybody living in Munich is confronted with every day, meaning public transport and things that are changing there. And that's, from my point of view, the most important experience we made. What we try is to test different topics with every story. So we made one story just being with somebody who is racing down a bob track in the southern Germany to learn what happens to our viewers if the camera is moving with 120 kilometers per hour, which is quite amazing.
What was the feedback?
It was better than we expected, because we feared that many people would just be emotion sick, but that was fine in the moment, because you have a very clear perspective. You look into if you race down the track, so that was fine for most people at least. We made another story with the Munich Philharmonic Orchestra. We had the chance to visit them practicing for a big concert, which is a very rare opportunity to see them with short trousers and t-shirts sitting behind their instruments and practicing. And what we tried there was to film that with 4 different cameras from 4 different perspectives, and give our users the possibility to switch between those possibilities. So not just to look around where they stand, but also to choose interactively from which point of view they want to experience the concert or the practicing, including the different sound they experience from either perspective, which, as my colleague already said, is always a very big challenge if you not only have to care for the best picture, but also for the orchestra-like sound you need to have.
Eva, you are working in a small team which also works with 360 VR productions, and you told me one of your goals is to have 360 to go mainstream. So what's your approach for it?
Yeah, thank you. And maybe what Lutz just mentioned is that the story, the content is key, and that's something that we want to contribute with our 360 storytelling editor. It's called Fader. Maybe you can show this screenshot. Exactly, thank you. So there are 3 things that I would like to highlight, or 3 aspects. First of all, our tool works quite quickly, so speed is core, and speed is something that we can address with our tool. So imagine you're a journalist, you're out in the field and you gather your content, you have all your footage and you have your story in your head and you want to build it, but then you might be depending on a cutter, or you might be depending on technology. But with Fader, you can just upload scene by scene so that you build your story step by step, as you see up there, till you have all your story completed. Then that also gives you the chance to experiment a little bit and to try what works, what does not work, and it's not going to be so pricey because with Fader you can build a story within an hour or maybe 2 and you don't need days, so you can test it quite quickly. A second aspect I would like to point out is that you can enrich the content that you shot before. So you can add audio, you can add video, and images can be 360 or also 2D images. And you can add text, what is also nice because so you can give directions to the audience. And what is pretty cool, you can add interactive elements. So you have this interactive hotspot that you can not only tell linear stories, but also non-linear, and it's not going to be pricey. Last aspect is that you can publish a story right away. So on the right, you see on the corner up, you see the publishing button. So with one click, you can publish, you can share it on Twitter and Facebook, and you can also get an iframe so that you can actually insert a story in almost every content management systems. And it's something that we are very proud of. And if you would like to get your hands on it and play around, you can also visit our website. It's fader.fragments.com and play around.
Thank you. Thank you. Konstantin. As we mentioned, you were filming an experience in Moscow. How did you technically prepare for this journey? What were your reasons to go where? And reflecting time, what did you do right and what did you think could have been better?
The most important thing for us, based on the technical things we wanted to take with us, was that it had to be very small and very light, because security is the most important thing when you're filming in a war zone. So we weren't able, or I wasn't able to carry a lot of stuff with me. So we decided that I would take a Samsung Gear, I think, the new prototype, which is really, really small and really, really light, and which doesn't exactly look like a camera, which came in handy when you're trying to get it into the country, because nobody will expect, oh, a 360-degree camera, at least not in northern Iraq. So I took one of those with me, and also a regular camera, a Sony camcorder, because I wanted to do both regular storytelling with a camera and virtual reality. And yeah, that was the one thing I would say I wouldn't do again, because I learned on that experience that, especially under these circumstances, when it's 40 degrees and you're wearing a helmet and you're wearing a bulletproof vest and you're always afraid that someone will shoot at you, handling with 2 different kinds of storytelling tools and 2 different kinds of cameras, yeah, that doesn't work that much. I was able to get something out of both, but I think it would have been better if I would have just concentrated on the 360 or the regular camera thing.
What do you think ZDF Info was just launching it last week, right? So you can watch the movie already.
Yeah, you can watch it on the Facebook page of ZDF Info, or you can go to, I think it's already on YouTube right now. Just Google 360 Mosul. I think it's one of the I think it's one of the first 3 things that will come up there. And I hope you will enjoy it.
Okay, Boris, last but not least. You were already producing a few 360 experiences, for example, a trainees campaign for young people. So you know all the ups and downs of a production process. A central question of many considerations inside editorial teams is again and again, where does it make sense to use 360 videos? Where should you use VR? And when is it a better decision not to make it at all? So where are countless good and bad examples, I think you will talk about also a very bad example in your opinion. So what should be the defining points, how to decide for or against storytelling with immersive technologies like VR or 360?
Yeah, right. As I said earlier, it's almost about telling a story, about getting a message across. And Lutz, you said it earlier, and yeah, that was very well put. So when we have a new technology, we have to think, what can we make out of that? Thomas, you were talking about immersion. We all know immersion, that's this magic bullet, this buzzword, but what does that mean? And when do we want this kind of immersion? That's one of the upsides we have with 360-degree video. But we have major downsides too, and I think many people aren't aware of these downsides. When you decide to shoot in 360-degree rather than with classic video, what's the downsides? And I think there's two major things. First of it is you don't have any details. You don't have any close-ups. If you shoot a normal movie, you have a wide shot, you have an establisher, okay, we are in the desert. And then you have a two-shot and seeing, okay, it's about us too. And then we show the close-up and we see you and we see, all right, you're sad, you're happy, or you're dying, or whatever. No, please not. Not now.
Not today.
So, story is told within 10 seconds. And it's very, very hard to tell that story with a 360-degree camera. 360-degree camera is it's a very wide angle. If you put the camera there, it's already a full shot of all of us. You can't see faces, you can't see the emotions. So that's a major downside with 360-degree video. And I have the impression most people aren't aware of that. Second point is when you shoot a normal movie, you're cutting. And each perspective, each cut lasting like sometimes not even a second. And that's rhythm, that's pace, that's speed. And you don't have that option in 360 degrees because you don't know where is the audience looking. So, if you consider these two things, that's the downsides, and you have the upside, okay, immersion, then you have to see, okay, what is the story I want to tell? And then you have to decide, is 360 the right medium? And I have the impression very many 360 productions you see, they're bullshit. And within journalism, I think it's one of the stronger fields. When I see these refugee things, or the Cologne Cathedral, you definitely made your point. But still, there's many productions where I think, hey, you could put more thinking in that before, and more into the planning, more into the concept, and you could make much more out of it.
Mm-hmm. Regarding the audience, and I would like to open the discussion right now, do you really think that your readers and users are really ready for immersive experiences with a greater amount of interactivity? So it's really demanding for users of the application. So they need to know, and they have to be guided very well inside the application. So, but do you really think that if you see who has a VR gadget at home, a VR from the audience here?
Come on.
So it's not really many, but who has a cardboard? I hope everyone. If not, go to the Expo. I mean, this is probably really a pain point that not everywhere it is. So, so what do you think? Are we ready? Thomas?
I think the people are ready. We are ready. The people are ready. Not in the sense of the technology, the available technology, but in the sense of experiencing this kind of content. The perception is being rewarded by this kind of content. That's what we see when we travel around with our equipment and watch viewers watching or diving into the cathedral application. They always, within seconds, would say, wow, this is great, this is cool. The younger people say, oh, cool, or krass in German. Oh, wie krass, which translates to cool. And the senior viewers used to say, oh, das ist aber schön. Yeah? But they are caught by this kind of content. It's worth the effort, I think.
Mm-hmm. Are you traveling with the Cologne app through Germany and showcase it to people?
Yeah, we've been at the Republika fair in Berlin. We are going to the IFA fair in Berlin. We're here, we are there. Different places, different viewers.
Okay.
Very rewarding, because we have something we can show to the people, and we are being rewarded by their reaction.
Konstantin.
I think it is important that we start now producing things that are really worth getting the technical equipment, because if we will talk to people and say, hey, get something, get a 360-degree goggle, and they would ask you, why? And we say, yeah, because maybe in 1 or 2 years we will create something for it. That's not how it works. We have to do something impressive right now, and then there will be a reason for the people to buy the technique and buy the goggles. And I think that's how it works. We can't just wait for the audience until maybe 50% of them have the equipment to watch it properly. We have to be the people we have to be the reason why they want to buy something like this.
Oh, yeah, very good answer. Eva, maybe, or Boris?
Yeah, one more point I think is we should differentiate between 360-degree linear video and VR, which for me is if you're really in a computer-generated environment, such as at the Cologne Cathedral, and where you really can walk and interact. And I think that's a huge difference when it comes to immersion and when it comes to what story can you get across. Yeah, I myself see much more opportunity in real virtual reality when you can really move around and interact. That's why we founded the company, of course. But in the end, it's always, the main thing is what's your message. So then you have to think about what's your media.
Okay.
So you ask whether the audience is ready. I believe they are ready, but it doesn't mean that everyone is trying it out and is willing to start experimenting with it. So, for instance, putting on the glasses is something that it's still, I don't know, it's still a challenge. It's still an obstacle, because when you are lazy, when you're at home, you don't want to put on your, PlayStation VR, because it costs you time, and it's I would say it's an obstacle. So this is also why this is for VR especially important, but when we talk about 360, there I see me personally see the stronger opportunity to get people to click on the play button and to tell them like a couple of thousands times that they can move around with their smartphone, and then there's a good chance that they will adapt it and use it more frequently.
That's actually the same experience we make. Of course, you have to explain what it's all about, and even more being a newspaper company, confronting not only our online readership, but also the newspaper readers with that new technology. And that already, I think, is worth the effort, because I can do great experiences in 360, full stop, that's fine. And then let's see how we move on. What we experience is VR is nothing you break records in terms of reach, but that's not what it's all about. What we see is that people stick to the videos very long, very much longer than to normal videos, which is great. We also see that the majority is using our videos without VR goggles, but basically on the smartphone or on the tablet, and that's fine, because they start to adapt to that technology. And as the technology is going to move forward, our readers will as well.
Konstantin? I think we are running out of time. Alicia is already. We need to talk about next year. I want 45 minutes next year. I would like to start with Konstantin's words, actually. We can't wait until the audience is ready. We have to be the reason why we are jumping into VR in 360. So this is very good. I take this home. So thank you all for joining me, and I hope you will be in the third edition as well next year. So thank you very much.